Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm your host. If you're new here, hello. If you've subscribed, hello. We're excited to have you join us today for our weekly dose of faith and fun. Let's dive into the Bible together. Today, we're exploring Exodus chapter 3, where an ordinary shepherd encounters an extraordinary situation, setting him on an extraordinary path. Ready to hear the miraculous story of Moses and the burning bush? Well, settle down because the adventure is about to begin. Imagine walking through the desert and suddenly, out of nowhere, a bush bursts into flames, but it's not burning up. Then, from the fire, a voice calls your name. Would you stop and listen, or would you run? Well, that's exactly what happened to Moses. Now, rewind a bit. We find Moses all grown up in the land of Midian, far from his homeland of Egypt. He was no longer a prince living in Pharaoh's palace. Instead, he was a humble shepherd taking care of his father-in-law's sheep. Life wasn't easy. The desert was harsh and unforgiving, but Moses was content with his simple life away from the troubles of the past. However, one day, as he tended to his flock, something unusual caught his eye. A bush was on fire, yet it didn't seem to be burning up. It glowed brightly, but it wasn't consumed by the flames. Curiosity got the best of him, and he decided to investigate. As he approached the bush, he heard a voice that seemed to come from within the flames. It called out to him, "Moses, Moses," and immediately he responded, "Here I am." Then came the voice again, this time with a sense of urgency and reverence. "Do not come any closer. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." At that moment, everything changed. The desert, once a backdrop of his everyday life, became a place of divine encounter. This was no ordinary bush or fire. It was a manifestation of something beyond comprehension, something powerful and holy. You might wonder how Moses felt in that moment. Can you imagine the mix of emotions, curiosity, apprehension, awe, perhaps even a touch of fear? Yet he listened, obediently removing his sandals and preparing himself for what was about to unfold. Then the voice spoke again, introducing itself in a way that echoed with power and majesty. "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." In those words, Moses heard a connection to his heritage, to his past. Suddenly, his ordinary existence was transformed into something extraordinary. He was not just a shepherd in the desert. He was Moses, a descendant of a lineage blessed by God. But the revelation didn't end there. The God of his ancestors had a mission for him, a mission that would change not only Moses' life, but the course of history. "I have indeed seen the affliction of my people in Egypt, and I have heard their cry because of their oppressors, and I know their sorrows. So I have come down to deliver them from the power of the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land into a land flowing with milk and honey." These words carried the weight of generations of hope, dreams deferred, and a longing for freedom. The suffering of his people echoed in his ears, stirring within him a sense of responsibility and compassion. Their cries for help were a call to action, a plea that resonated with his heart. Pharaoh and his taskmasters had treated the Israelites harshly, subjecting them to forced labor and cruel punishments. Their hopes seemed to have dwindled, their spirits crushed under the weight of oppression. But God had not forgotten them, and he had chosen Moses to be their deliverer. As these words filled him, Moses must have grappled with a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. The magnitude of the task before him, the weight of his people's hopes resting on his shoulders, the fear of the unknown, all of it surged through him. In that moment, he poured out his heart to God, expressing his doubts, fears, and uncertainties. "Who am I that you would choose me? Who am I that you would send me? I am just a shepherd, and I don't know the first thing about speaking or leading people." It was a testament to his humility, his awareness of his own limitations, and his desperate need for divine guidance and strength. Moses' response was a reflection of his genuine heart. He wasn't pretending to be someone he wasn't. He wasn't trying to hide his weaknesses. He was being honest, open, and vulnerable before the Almighty God. And in that honesty, God saw the qualities that truly mattered, not his perceived shortcomings, but his willingness to listen, his compassion, and his desire to serve. And then came God's reply, words that echoed with reassurance, power, and a profound sense of purpose. "I will be with you, and this will be a sign to you that I have sent you, when you have delivered the people from the power of the Egyptians and brought them back to the land of Israel. They will worship me at the proper time, keeping the feast of Passover in my honor, sacrificing Passover lambs and offering other gifts as well." In those words, Moses found the strength and affirmation he needed. God didn't just say he would help him. He promised to be with him every step of the way. It was a promise of partnership, of shared purpose, and of unwavering support. Moses wasn't going to face this journey alone. He had God by his side. With that realization, a wave of newfound confidence seemed to wash over him. "Tell them, I am has sent you." Those words weren't just a mission statement, they were a declaration of identity, a way of connecting with the Israelites, reminding them that the God who had been with their ancestors was with them now, too. It was a message of continuity, of faithfulness, and of hope. The conversation between Moses and God in the burning bush wasn't just a moment of divine revelation. It was a turning point in history. It marked the beginning of the Exodus, the liberation of the Israelites from slavery in Egypt and their journey towards freedom in the Promised Land. As the smoke from the bush cleared, so did the path forward for Moses and for the people of Israel. The burning bush symbolized not only their struggle, but also their resilience, their unyielding spirit that refused to be consumed by adversity. It stood as a beacon of hope in the darkness of their despair. Through this experience, we see a God who is not distant, but deeply involved in the affairs of humanity. He doesn't just sit back and watch, he acts, he intervenes. And he chooses to use ordinary people like you and me to accomplish extraordinary things. The story of Moses reminds us that God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. He sees potential in us even when we don't see it ourselves. He gives us the strength and the tools to fulfill his purposes. And as we reflect on this remarkable tale, let's think about our own lives. Are we paying attention to the whispers of God in our midst? Are we ready to respond when he calls us to action? Remember, God's voice may not always be in the roar of the crowd, but in the quiet, still small voice. All we need is a listening heart. The burning bush may have been a fleeting moment in history, but its significance echoes through time. It teaches us about God's character, his love for his people, and his willingness to use anyone who is willing to be used. As we close this chapter of our Bible story journey, let's carry the lessons from the burning bush in our hearts. Let's be attentive to God's voice, ready to respond, and open to the possibilities that lie ahead. Who knows what extraordinary adventures await us when we least expect it? Just as Moses stumbled upon the divine in the ordinary, we, too, may find ourselves in the presence of the extraordinary in the midst of everyday life. So keep your eyes open, your hearts receptive, and your spirits open to the wonders that God has in store for you. If you enjoyed today's story, don't forget to hit the like button. Subscribe to our channel and leave a comment below with your thoughts, questions, or even your own experiences that remind you of God's presence in your life. We'd love to hear from you. And if you want to dive deeper into the world of faith and fun, make sure to check out our other videos. There's always something new and exciting waiting for you. Thank you for joining us today. Until next time, may the spirit of curiosity and faith guide you, and may you never stop seeking the extraordinary in the ordinary.